All right, welcome back, folks, to WrestleRant, where I, Graham Jason Matthews, review all the pay-per-views that I watch on the WWE Network for the entire month of October. Happy October, by the way. I'll be talking about every installment of No Mercy. My review of No Mercy, the UK version in 1999 is already up from Tuesday. Not a great show. You can check out the review, which is a lot better than the show itself. But today we're talking about No Mercy, also from 1999, but the show that took place a couple months later in the United States. So kicking off the show was Kane taking on, or rather the Godfather taking on Mideon. Not a good match. I mean, kind of the same thing that we got, or a little bit better of an opener than we got at the previous No Mercy event. But it was not a good match. The Godfather was not a great worker. Mideon was certainly not a great worker. And just kind of more of a brawl. It was all about the hose at ringside. So if you like that gimmick, then it's a good match for you. But other than that, though, it was not a good match. These guys didn't really gel all that well together. And other than the host stuff, which was entertaining, it was always entertaining. Classless, but it was entertaining. The match wasn't good, so you could skip over that. Not really the best way to kick off the in-ring portion of the show. After that, for the Women's Championship, the Fabulous Moolah, yes, you heard that correctly, beating Ivory for the Women's Championship. So Moolah and Mae Young kind of came out of retirement for a few years, or they were around for a while. I mean, they had a lot of random appearances on WWE TV through until Moolah's passing in 2007. But she was never a great worker, even in her prime. She was an awful worker, from what I've heard. So this match really wasn't that much different. And Ivory tried to get the best match out of her. You got to applaud Ivory for being a team player and them giving the belt to Fabulous Moolah. I mean, it was a funny moment. I guess unintentionally. I don't think it was designed for comedy. But to see the woman, I mean, in her 80s, I think it was, or maybe in her 70s. I'm pretty sure it was in her 80s, winning the winning the Women's Championship. It was a moment. That's all really that it was. It shouldn't have happened. Kind of took away from the women's division at that time. And it's funny too, because I just got done listening to the watching the Table for Three segment they had on the WWE Network with Ivory, Molly Holly, and Alundra Blaze, Medusa, whatever. And it was a great conversation. Definitely check it out when you get a chance. I hate to go off track here, but the point that I'm trying to make is that Ivory, she talked about in that Table for Three thing, that when she was there, they weren't really focused on the wrestling. And when she was doing the wrestling, when they finally did start doing the wrestling, they had her focus on Tough Enough. And this was around the time that they had her drop the belt to a fucking 80-year-old woman. I mean, who is one of the greatest of all time, arguably. Again, not a great worker, but she did hold the women's championship for over 30 years, so something can be said for that. But still, I mean, the division really wasn't much of a division. Even when they did have the women's championship, it really wasn't that much of a division. It wasn't really that much of a division. Let's not joke around here. Let's not kid ourselves that this was a real women's division. They were still having, the brawls and the panty matches that we would soon get in the months and the years to come. I think we had our first ever lingerie match at No Mercy. I think in 2002 or 2003, or 2001 maybe. I'm not exactly sure. I'll get to it when I get to it. But this really wasn't all that much of a match. So after that, we had the Hollies taking on the New Age Outlaws, regular tag team match. I think Rock and Sock Connection had beaten the Hollies for the tag team titles, or maybe it was I'm pretty sure it was the Hollies, not the New Age Outlaws. They had beaten the Hollies for the World Tag Team titles in the SmackDown before this show, which was kind of weird because it made this match mean a lot less than it did. It was a good match. The New Age Outlaws got themselves disqualified, so using good heel tactics. But other than that, I mean, it could have meant a lot more if the tag team titles were at stake, and it was never really explained. It was never really explained why they put the titles back on Rock and Sock Connection, on Rock and Mick Foley, because they were on this show, but they weren't defending the belts. They had a couple of segments together, but it was kind of random that they would put the belts on them, so they couldn't be defended on this show. So that was a bit weird, but it was a good match nevertheless. I can only imagine how much better it would have been, how much more it would have meant if the titles were at stake, but it was a solid tag team match nevertheless. After that match, we had one of the better matches of the night, in my opinion, the Good Housekeeping match, the Intercontinental Championship, Jeff Jarrett defending against China. Now, it might sound ridiculous on paper, but the whole premise of this feud, and I talked about it briefly in my review of Unforgiven 1999 rather, was that Jeff Jarrett during this period of time was kind of going on a tirade against women, saying that he was superior to all of them, including Miss Kitty and Deborah and all these other women that he was just treating like complete crap. And this was at a time when he could beat them up, which I'm not endorsing at all. I thought that was kind of sick. But this was at a time when he could do that and get away with it. So, in China, of course, being just the fucking monster of a person that he was, that she was, being the monster of a woman, the woman that she was, could take the fight to Jeff Jarrett, was on his level. They had a decent match at Unforgiven, ending in like I think a DQ or something, kind of setting the stage for this match on this show. But the rules of a good housekeeping match entailed that you could use whatever was around the house. So an ironing board, a garbage can, whatever items that you could find around the house you would be legal to use. So, henceforth, towards the end of the match, when Jarrett used the championship belt to knock out Chyna, it was not allowed because that is not a household object. So they would reverse the decision. He had pinned Chyna, retained the title, but the referee had seen the belt in his hands, determined that it was not legal to use. They restarted the match. Chyna capitalizes on that, gets the better of Jarrett, beats him for the Intercontinental Championship. And that was it. I'm pretty sure that was Jeff Jarrett's final match in WWE. So he loses to Chyna in his final match, which is not bad company to be in. I'm not saying it is a bad thing, but I'm pretty sure he left the company over that. He didn't want to do the JLB or whatever the decision was. I didn't really read too much into it. But I'm pretty sure this was his final match with the company. And it kicked off Chyna's, I think, her first reign as Intercontinental Champion. She would have maybe one more after this. If she wasn't Intercontinental Champion before this, I'm pretty sure this was her first reign. But it was very entertaining, a lot more entertaining than you would think, considering who was involved in the stipulation. Oh, it sounds stupid, but it's actually a lot of fun. So, good match and a good title change with Chyna becoming the new women's champion, becoming the new Intercontinental Champion. So after that, we had the Rock and the British Bulldog. The match was, which is a complete opposite from the previous match. You would think it would be a lot better than it was, but it really wasn't. The British Bulldog was kind of toning down his in-ring style at this point, kind of all roided up, and he was not the guy that he once was. Not the same guy who won the IC title in the main event of SummerSlam in 1992 in England. A completely different British Bulldog who was a lot more brawling-based in his in-ring style. The Rock tried to get the best match possible out of him. British Bulldog really wasn't really in his league, so to speak. British Bulldog was not even close to main event. I mean, I think he was in the title conversation at Unforgiven the month before this, and the month prior to this pay-per-view, but no one really saw him as a legitimate threat to the World Championship, so I thought it was kind of ridiculous. But the match wasn't really that good. The Rock wins, end of story. After that, a ladder match, one of the best match in the entire show. The Good Housekeeping match was fun. This was easily the best match in the entire show. The New Brood, Matt and Jeff Hardy, with Gangrel in their corner, taking on Edge and Christian in a ladder match. And it was the finals of the Terry Runnels tournament. Terry Invitational Tournament, which spelled out TIT, which Jerry Lawler did not forget to remind the viewers of, which was pretty funny. But an amazing match. One of the first I'm pretty sure the first tag team ladder match in WWE history. And they just blew the fucking roof off. The crowd loved every single second of it. A lot of high-risk maneuvers. It wasn't just a spot fest either. They told a great story. At this point in time, Matt and Jeff Hardy were the heels. Edge and Christian were the baby faces. That was the weird thing about it. I think they shook hands, I think the next night on Raw. But this kind of kicked off their iconic feud over the next several years in the WWE Tag Team division. But just an amazing match. A lot of high-risk maneuvers. You can't really, when I'm watching this pay-per-view, sometimes I'm doing something else, but this is one of those matches that when you're watching it, you have to put everything else aside and just sit down and watch it, because you're going to miss something. I'm telling you, I had to keep on rewinding as I was typing up an article, and I'm watching the pay-per-view at the same time, but I kept on missing spots and I had to keep on rewinding, so I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to put my laptop down and just watch this pay-per-view, and I did, or just watch this match, and I did, and it was an amazing experience. These guys just never cease to have amazing matches, but this was certainly one of their better encounters, and just the finals of the tournament, everything that was on the line, the ladder match stipulation they made the most of, and really setting the bar for future encounters between the two teams in the years down the line. But fantastic stuff. Matt and Jeff Hardy in the end, winning the money and the services of Terry Runnels in the end. So after that, we had Mankind versus Val Venus. Okay match, essentially the same thing we saw the year prior with Mankind and Billy Gunn. Mankind really lobbying to put over, the year before, the pay-per-view before this, the No Mercy a couple months earlier. Mankind trying to put over Val Venus. And again, I don't really see it as a demotion for Mankind as much as it was they thought Val Venus would amount to something in WWE. He didn't. He was an entertaining character, but he was never really anything above an IC title contender level. I think they tried to elevate him to a main event status by having him beat Mankind, but didn't really work out that way. In the long term, kind of a waste of time. But the match itself on this show, good for what it was. After the Four Corners elimination match between X-Pac, Kane, Farouk, and Bradshaw. Kind of random. It pitted the APA against X-Pac and Kane in a four-man elimination match. So it was kind of random in that respect, and they were kind of building to the split between X-Pac and Kane. X-Pac did not really hesitate to eliminate Kane earlier on in the contest, but in the end, though, X-Pac winning the match, and that would kind of, like I said, planting the seeds for their eventual split. It was a fun match, though. I mean, again, there was nothing on the line, so it was a little random to be putting two tag teams against each other in a four-man elimination match for every man for themselves, or where it was every man for themselves. So that was kind of a weird stipulation to attach to a four-man elimination match where it was two tag teams getting involved. But it was fine for what it was. A big win for X-Pac, and it did serve a purpose in the respect that, like I said, it planted the seeds for the inevitable split between X-Pac and Kane. And then we get to the main event for the WWE Championship, an anything goes match between then champion Triple H and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Kind of a rematch of sorts from the No Mercy pay-per-view from a couple months earlier in the UK, where it was The Undertaker also involved. Take out The Undertaker, and that's exactly what this match was. It was a lot of brawling and whatnot, but it was a lot better of a wrestling match than the Triple Threat was at the No Mercy that happened earlier on in the year. I thought they told a great story. Stone Cold Steve Austin put over Triple H like $1 million. This was Triple H's, I'm pretty sure his first reign as WWE champion, so or maybe his second. I can't remember exactly, but they were really trying to put him over as a major threat in the WWE title picture, and they definitely did do so with this matchup, with having Austin put over Triple H. But a great match, a lot more wrestling oriented than the triple threat we had at the previous No Mercy pay-per-view. But towards the end, though, The Rock gets involved, attempts to cost Triple H the match, but instead hits inadvertently, supposedly, Stone Cold Steve Austin, costs him the win, and Triple H still your WWE champion. Of course, no disqualification, so neither man was disqualified from Rock getting involved, but it would lead to Triple H picking up the win and retaining his title. So a very good main event and a lot better of a show than the No Mercy in the UK. I mean, some of the undercard matches were still trash. The opener was not good. The women's match was total trash. Rock and Bulldog really fell well below expectations. But the rest of the card was good. I thought this show is definitely worth watching for the main event. The ladder match, absolutely. If there's any one match from this show that's worth watching, it's that one. But this show is worth watching for the main event, the ladder match especially, and the Good Housekeeping match. So on the whole, I'd give it a thumbs up. It was a good show. I enjoyed it. Probably just because the last No Mercy pay-per-view in the UK was so awful that it made this one look great in comparison. But it was a good show, though, and I would check it out when you get the chance. Only on the WWE Network. But of course, guys, before I come back tomorrow here on the channel with my review of No Mercy 2000, be sure to follow me on Twitter at WrestleRant. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Graham.Jason.Matthews. Check out the website at nextwrestling.net. And be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. All support is greatly appreciated. So enjoy the weekend. We've got a huge weekend up ahead. We've got Bound for Glory on Sunday or tomorrow. We have the MSG special tonight. I'm on Parents Weekend this weekend. I'll be at Raw on Monday, so a huge weekend up ahead. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the weekend as much as I am. And like I said, stay tuned until tomorrow for my full review of No Mercy 2000. Until then, guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm Graham Jason Matthews, and I'll catch you guys down the road.